I became the plotter. So I had to master using an X-Acto knife, and I believe it's somewhere around here. I'm sure you all know what an X-Acto knife is. And talking to a smart crowd. And I became the plotter. I had to learn to cut vinyl very small. It took me some years to master, and that's why I'm able to cut fretwork that small. I worked with a roofing company, so I know how to build roofs fairly good. And so it came as a surprise realizing that these different jobs that I held, which didn't mean anything anymore because I've now found a new love. I guess you can call them exes that came back to haunt me. And so during that time, all of these things started happening. I started exhibiting, and people started to find out who I was, what I can do, and it has been a wonderful journey. So let me take you into the process. So the process is long. I can cram it into 3 weeks, but still it's a very long process. It starts with me seeing a heritage site. So I just like to simply call it a house somewhere, and it has something about it that pleases me. It's aesthetically pleasing. So I grab my camera or my phone and I get to the site and I take photographs. The photographs start with a shot at a distance that I can fill the frame of the camera with the entire house. Then I step close and I take photographs from one side. I take a photograph here, step, another one, and I step. In the end, I may gather about 40 to 50 photographs. After that, I get home, take these photographs, and I start stitching them together. So what I'm looking for is detail. I'm looking for cracks. I'm looking for dents, weathering, what type of weathering it is, and so on. And after all of that is completed, then I would move to the next step, which is to take all of that information and translate it or interpret it into a measurement or measurement. When I get the measurements, I determine what size the house is going to be, then I would begin construction. And construction that part is very easy. Just cut a square of straw board. Straw board comes in different sizes. I use the thickest size. I think somewhere there you would see a house that is bland looking. There is nothing on it. That's made of straw board. The choice of material is determined by what type of house it is. If it's a concrete house, I use straw board. Then I take joint compound. Joint compound is what ceiling workers used to do ceiling, fill the gaps and so. I take the joint compound. I use one called quick set. Quick set comes in 1, 2, 3, 4 varieties. 45 minutes, 20 minutes, 15, and 5. I choose which one I want to use depending on what I want to create. If there's a lot of cracks, I will go for the 20 minutes because it gives me enough time to work before it starts to set. And then when that happens, you can't really create the crack. Creating a crack is done by a technique that I actually stumble upon, where you apply the joint compound, take your hand, you hold each wall where you want the crack to appear, and you flex it. Sometimes you don't see the crack show up immediately, so you have to trust that it's there. Other times, depending on where the crack is or which part of the wall you hold, then the crack shows up. After which, you move on to other things. In the case of a wooden house, well, as you see, there's a wooden house on display that is unfinished. Same basic steps apply, where you do a frame and you attach the board to the outside. In the case of wood, you have to create many of these houses, the walls, the wood that they use, the top of it has a bevel. So you have to find a way to create the bevel. And there are many different ways sometimes you have to create your own tool. So I have about 5 different tools that I sort of invented for myself to create the bevel. And you apply it where it has to go, you leave room for the windows, doors, and so on. When that step is completed, and also, before I go on, in order for that step to be successful, the beginning has to be accurate. Taking pictures, scrolling through the pictures, assessing them, making sure that you are correct in what you're seeing and where it's supposed to go in terms of cracks and mildew and so on. And the style, design, where windows go, how tall they are, doors, all these things. If that part isn't accurate, it will throw off everything else. In one case, there's a house that's anyway, it should come up at some point. In one case, I had to remove 3/4 of the house because the measurements was off, made a huge mistake. And that could set you back by about 2 or 3 days sometimes. And if you have a commission, if that particular house is up for commission, well, then you're throwing yourself back. You wouldn't meet the due date. And that could be frustrating. Yeah. So that step is important. So when you have come from that step and you're able to execute the measurements and they are correct and you start construction, you have all the walls up and so on. You move from walls, then you construct windows, doors separate. In the case of louvers, as you can see there, each one of those louvers is there are placed individually. So one, and if you notice, these houses have like about, in some cases, 6 windows on one side. I don't understand why. One window and air condition is enough. But anyway, so this is the house that I was referring to, where I had to rebuild half of it after 3 days of already work. So after when you start to construct windows, each window can take, most cases I have to build 6 windows. Each window to construct can take about 2 hours because each piece of wood has to be cut a particular size, and that size is 0.1 centimeter. 0.1 centimeter. Standard, the same way you would see a joiner build windows in his shop. Same, it's just that I'm working too small. And standard, the frame is put together, then I start to make a very slender cut to create the louver. That takes another, lengthy period also. And it's cut into pieces. Then I hold the frame in one hand, and with the other hand, I use a tweezer to slip each louver in. That takes a while. So it may culminate into something like 3 to 4 days to do 12 windows or even more, along with doors and everything you see has to be built separately. If there's curves in the wood, those curves there, those pieces has to be cut, has to be measured, has to be cut, has to be sanded. And in the process of assessing the photograph, you're looking for style in terms of what they call bevels or notches. You're looking for these things. And I love detail, and I would not be building these houses if I didn't think that I could get it as accurate as possible. When that part is finished, you move on to the best part. And this is where the irony steps in, because as a painter, you approach a wall that is old and you bring it back and you make it look nice and new, right? But in this case, You are creating a new wall, making it look, yeah, exactly, working in the reverse. And that is not as easy as you think. Let me just step across it. Case of this side here, I don't know how many you can see. Maybe those who are closer can see it. This area here took an entire 8 hours because when you look at it, you are seeing mainly a dark hue. That's about 7 different colors mixed into each other. So with each color, you have to choose the correct color. So in your assessment of the pictures, that particular wall in the real picture that I took, you have to now assess what colors can give you that look. So you assess the colors, you try to break it down, and that's where your knowledge of colors may step in. If you don't have knowledge of colors, well then, as we say in Trinidad, the crap will smoke your pipe. So you assess the colors, and each color is applied, allowed to dry, then a next color is applied. So with the case of other parts of it, the technique might be different, the approach might be different, whereby you're seeing some white showing up inside there. So you apply the color, and when it's dried, you take a tool, you just gently scrape away to show all of that you see there, what I saw on the photograph. And so we're talking another few hours to eat. In the end, everything takes hours to do. It's fun. A lot of people would say to me, you have patience, like Job. The truth is, I don't see it as patience. I more see it as love. I love what I do, so I spend the time. And I think anyone here can attest. When you love something, you would spend the time doing it. If you don't love it, then why do it, right? So when that is finished, you have the walls. In terms of the wood, I'm going a little too fast, sorry. Yeah. This wooden area here. The wooden area, when weathering wood, it's a little easier because I have pigments that I purchased online. There are a number of companies scattered across the globe, and they create pigments to represent real life weathering situation, I'll put it that. And so what you simply do, you get these pigments, mix it down, and you apply. And within a hour and a half, when it dries, you're actually seeing it, looking weathered. Apart from that, there are other techniques that you could apply that would give you what you're looking for. Get a metal brush, scrape it on the wood, that would create some abrasions in the wood. Then when you apply the pigment to give it that weathered look, you end up getting what you're looking for. In terms of the wood, I've been asked many times if I use plastic. No, I don't use plastic. I use something called balsa board. Balsa board is very soft. A child can hold a piece of it and crush it. It's that easy to work with, which makes it easy when you have to weather it. In choosing balsa board, that's where it gets a little tricky because sometimes if the piece of balsa board that you get it looks a bit yellow, pale, yeah, you don't want to use that because that means it's cut from the part of the wood that is very porous. You want to put it that way. So in weathering, it will shred out very fast. So you have to use the part or know what you're looking for in choosing parts that can stand up to the process or endure the process. So that is also something that you have to pay attention to. I don't know if you realize that while I'm talking of each part, you would realize that you know each part takes time, takes focus, and you would also realize that it's not so much guessing. You can't really guess what you have to do. Sorry? Correct. Correct. So, and that comes with trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes, right? When that is finished, you move to the other part. You apply the windows and doors, they're weathered and all of that. Um, During the process, you're working with the picture. Pictures are there. They are your guide. If you look away, tap you. Say, hey, me supposed to be paying attention to it. What are you looking away for? Because that can cause a problem. If you look away, if you take your attention off and do your own thing, you could make mistakes. But you have to pay attention to the pictures if you want to get it accurate. Because this is a house that actually existed at one time. And when I approach a house that exists, I want to get it accurate. I don't want to behave like Hollywood and tell a wrong story about something that actually happened or is happening, right? So you work with the picture, hours and hours of looking at the picture, looking at what you're doing. And if for some reason you don't get it, well, then you might have to scrap it and start over. That has happened in the past. Yeah, a lot past. We're moving on to the roof part. Just tilt it. Right? Looks like rust. It does? Yeah. Rust. That part is even longer and it can frustrate you. Right? Well, um, you first start with a base coat. The base coat is important. Choosing the base coat is important. If the base coat is not accurately chosen, then it will throw off everything. If the base coat is too dark, it will influence the other colors that is placed on top, and you're going to have a problem. Because remember, you're working with what you see. So you have to identify each layer of what you see. You choose the colors based on what you see. So in that case, that's not very dark. So I knew off the bat that it would take a very light base coat. So you put on the base coat, leave it let it dry. The drying process is also important. You have to let it dry. That way you can see what comes up. It will help you to determine what comes up. After which you start applying each other color and you come up. If you notice rust, anybody have seen rust? No? If you look at rust, you would notice that there are many different types of rust. Can't say why it is like that, but that's just how it is. So you have rust that is very dark. Then you have different tones of brown in between and so on. So you identify which one you're looking at. Again, you're looking at the picture. That will help you determine end result. And there are many different types of rust that you get. Cases, there's one company called AK Interactive. They produce rust pigment. I mean, it's amazing. You can just take a bottle, squeeze out a little bit, take your brush, dip it, apply it. And when it's dry, you are seeing rust. It's amazing. There was only one time that I attempted creating rust with paint, and that was the only time I was successful, so I stopped. I didn't do that again because once is enough. Because it was a long process, very long. When the rust is finished, you have a right? Each stage, during each stage, you interact with the photographs to make sure that you're on track. You get what you want. If you come across a building or a heritage site that is fairly new, has done some, let's just say the owners have done some remedial work. They have done some editing to the house, change the window or whatever. That's a bit tricky because then you have to determine, okay, what this house looked like before. Because for me, I like original. I like to stick to the original. So in cases where I am commissioned to build a house uh, that has that editing was done to it, I would ask the question first. Okay, when was that window placed there? Do you want that window put back or you want the original window? So then I have to go and do my research and see, try to find what the house looked like before. After which, you continue down the same process that I explained, and you get to where you want to get. The tools involved are basic, not so basic, and some are technical. You have the basic tools, the X-Acto knife, a rule, a pencil. Those are the basic tools you start with. A utility knife, when you have to cut through uh, the different thickness of straw board. In some cases, the straw board that you use, you have to choose the thickest one. I don't use that particular straw board. I think it's 1/8 of an inch thick. Don't use that one when it comes to a house that has a lot of wind, simply because it's very tough to cut through. And you can throw off the measurement. So I would use the thinner of these three. Let's say the one in the middle, which is half of 1/8 of an inch. And after the windows and so on, but I would then brace the inside. And one of them you see across there, you would notice that there are braces on the inside because when the joint compound is applied, starts to dry, it will cause the walls to bend. So you have to brace it so that when it's dry, it stays like that. In terms of jumping around a little, forgive me. Anybody is nervous here? um, so talking about tools, I'll go back. So in terms of the tools, as I said, some of them are basic. I would switch tools and go from simple to not so simple and technical tools as the job progress, right? So after you use the basic tools to cut and saw, I have different types of saw. I have a micro band saw, micro table saw, large size, other large size saws to cut, make certain cuts and so on. Plus, I have a lot of different hand tools that I would use to cut, create, get to what I'm looking for. Let me go back a little bit. In working with the straw board and creating after you have applied the joint compound. Explain how you create track. After you have applied joint compound, take your hand, place one hand like this on the outside. Take the other hand and place it on the inside. In the middle of your hand on the outside. You push, you pull, and you hold it there for a bit. And that will cause the joint component is drying to crack. You don't want to do that too often. You don't want to do it too heavily because you don't apply too much pressure because it will crack and break off and fall. You don't want. So you have to take your time. It's a delicate process in creating cracks and so on. And there are many different ways to do that. There are different ways to create holes. There are different ways to create different things you would see because I spend a lot of time paying attention to what can happen to these old houses because one thing I've noticed, it's not just cement that they were built from. A gentleman explained to me one time that they used cement, dirt, and a type of bush, as he said. Called the name, but was a little intoxicated, so I didn't really understand what he was saying. But he called the name of the bush. He said you boil the bush in the night, You let it draw till the morning. Then you remove the liquid and you place the liquid in the cement with the measurement of dirt and so on. And then when you apply it to the wood, uh, you then put the cement on top of it. That's why when you look at them, you would notice if you could see the interior, say when the outside cement has broken off, you would notice it looks like dirt. That's the reason. So in paying attention to the photographs, this is what you're looking for. And you're trying to figure out, how am I going to do that? Okay? And that sums up my day-to-day, experience. Sounds like a fun day. Yeah, man. Sounds like a fun day. And it is. It is a fun day. I enjoy. I don't think that I work. It doesn't feel like a job because my time is mine. I get up when I want. I work as long as I want. And if I decide I want to watch football today, watch football whole day. That's the best job ever. And I get paid for it. Right? And so, but it's so wonderful. I didn't think that I would have ended up here because I mean, I held other jobs, and I can't say that I didn't enjoy it or didn't love it. I did. However, I guess the Almighty God had a different calling for me because not only can I do it, according to many, I can do it well, right? And it's a fun process. And I have to say, in the beginning, the appreciation, I should say, from that point, 2010, when that great mistake happened, from that point to now, the appreciation grew. Because I mean, I would see them and I've always had a taste for older things, but can't say that I really appreciate it as I do now. Because now when I pass by and I see this particular house there, and then Monday I pass and I see there's a car parked there, it's heartbreaking because we step back across. This guy here, I've been looking at this house, and this house has been covered by many others. I have a friend, she did this house uh, stippling. It took, I think she said about 3 months to stipple this house. This house, by the way, stood opposite Adam Smith Square on Carlos Street. You come down. You all recognize it? Good. Sorry? No, on the opposite side. So you come down Carlos Street, you go across Arapita, and about 3 houses down, yeah, that's where it stood. On Carlos Street. It had a large tree in front, but the tree over the years it broke, right? And eventually one Sunday, I remember I bought my camera the week, yeah, that same week. So that Sunday, decided, okay, go in and take pictures. So I called my partner. He said, come, let me go. We got there. I took photographs and I started to build. This was 2019. The week that I completed this house, I remember it was about 2 o'clock that morning that I did the last bit of weathering. I think I finished the back portion here and I painted the back black. Looked at it, I said, well, all right, job done. And I went to sleep. I went to sleep about 1 o'clock that morning because I was preparing for Carrie Festa, which started the Saturday of that week. And I got a message. And when I saw the picture, well, I did 2 things at the same time. I wiped my eye to make sure I was seeing correctly. My heart broke because I saw this entire side of the house burned flat. And yeah, I mean, I was heartbroken. At the same time, I smiled because I realized, okay, well, I am the only one that has a 3D version of it, right? And also, as time went on, I got to thinking and realized just how important it is to keep, to preserve these houses. Because We call them heritage sites or historical sites. And we celebrate them. But at a point in time, it was just a house that that kept a family, raised children. And some of those children went on to become great men and women that shaped our history, our culture, left a legacy that, my generation, other generation before me and after me could follow. And if for no other reason we appreciate these heritage sites, it should be for that reason. If you have no other reason, choose that reason. Because if you respect and honor these great men and women, they came from these houses, most of them, in their time. So that's one way if they have no other, that's one reason if there was no other reason. Okay, fair enough? You're welcome. All right, so that brings me to the end of this portion of the lecture. All right, Mrs. Sweet, where is, good. I was going to pass you on to Joseph.
One time, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Fantastic, fantastic lecture. Now, we want to open the floor for questions. Any question? Not for me, because I can't do that. Give me a Lego, I could do that for you. But any questions from the floor? Yes, ma'am. So the question is, do you use any magnifying glasses or stuff like that? They're on display.
It's soft. It's soft.
Yes, yeah. I do use a magnify.
You want a TV now?
It came with 5.
You want a TV now?
Strengths or blends. And so yes.
It's on the radio now.
I
Do
do
you want a
use
TV?
glasses. Not all the time. When I'm doing fine details, then I use it. But otherwise, my eyes work. Yeah, it is. Thankfully, yes, it is.
Well, I ain't seen no glasses either. So I mean.
Did I answer your question?
They're right. Yes, and any more questions from the floor? So. So the question is about scale.
I created my own scale, and that's before I found out that there's a group of universal scales, 1 to 12, which everyone knows. That's dollhouse 1 to 12, 1 to 24, 1 to, and so on. A lot of different scales. I decided to stick with my own scale. Apart from my own measurements that I apply, I go based on feel and what my eyes see. I've realized that I'm good with averaging. So if I look at the roof and I realize from the photograph that the roof, the pitch, it doesn't look, my pitch doesn't compare well with it, scrap it and I do it over. Another part of the question was, if you line them up, no, they won't be the same size. And that's my choice at times. Yeah, they don't always line up in terms of scale because of sizes compared, because sometimes it's my choice. I determine the size based on what I have to do at times. So if there's a lot of weathering, in the case of this one, involved, I go with this size. That will give me enough, let me say, real estate to work with, that I can capture as much detail as necessary. Fair enough? Good.
Great. One question to the back.
Hi.
Fantastic question.
That's
She
a
asked if
fantastic
the door
question.
moves.
Best question ever. No, they don't move, but I can make them move. So the next one I build, just for you, I'm going to make it move. All right? So, no. how to put it? If it's an abandoned house, I just paint the inside black to give it a spooky look. If I have to do furniture, then most times I don't. I could, but I don't. But if I have to do it, I would prefer I'm paid to do it because it requires a lot of work. There are times I did a bit of the inside, the interior, because I added a light, and if a light comes on, you would have to see inside. So I did a little work on the interior, added a color, put what they call curtain, right, and place a picture on the wall that you can see. You have something to look at when you look inside, right? But no, I don't really do interior. Right? At some point, I plan to start. Oh, all right.
Go right ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. You first. Preserve it. The paints and pigments that I use, they come equipped to preserve themselves. Because I remember in the past, one particular house I built, I applied a clear polythene varnish, and it threw everything off. So I don't. Then I learned that paints, they are self-preserved. So to answer your question, no, I don't, because it's built into the pigments and the paint. After you, take you. The glass part, I use a clear sheet of plastic, and you can get it at almost any stationery store, right? Hold on, you first. Yes, I have. Online.
Could you just
Uh,
repeat the question for our Zoom audience?
Sure. The question was, have I ever built a house from archival photos? If I didn't get photos for myself, question. And what's that process? Well, the process would be the same as when I go take pictures for myself. The slight difference, I will have to use my imagination. Because most times, people will just step back and take a photograph of the house. They won't do as I do and zoom in on certain parts. So I will have to look at it and then go out and see if I find any buildings or search online or books or whatever to see if I find a reference footmark or come close to that particular house. Then I work from there. I can also work from your memory. So whatever the person remembers, I can take that and apply it. And I have done it twice so far with, I have to say, 100% success rate so far, right? Yeah, go ahead. Uh-huh. Sorry, thank you very much. Wait, let's deal with the first question first. Yeah, my brain don't work that way. All right, yeah. I use a simple corrugated paper that you can get at stationery store. You can get it at Deltex, you can get it mainly at Deltex. That particular one that I use is from Deltex. And it's sturdy, it can take water because I use a lot of water in my pigments. And it can take the water, and what happens is when it gets too much water, it starts to bend. So it gives that old look already. All right. So yeah, I use a corrugated paper. At times in the past, in the beginning, I used cardboard. Here one side, yeah, but, probably that was what you were thinking, but no, I use corrugated. Comes corrugated already, the paper that I use. All right, next question was, next part. Yes, yes, I have. However, I found myself when I started, decided on a house in my head, and then I realized I'm leaning towards a house that already exists. So it's kind of hard because I'm accustomed seeing them. So the archive in my brain don't allow me to work strictly from what I want. It doesn't allow me to do exactly what I want, right? But I have in the past, but unfortunately they don't exist anymore. It's Slack, right? So yeah, they don't exist anymore. But yes, I've done it in the past. You? Sometimes I make an attempt. Sorry, you have more of the question? Okay, good.
It's just to repeat the question please,
Sorry.
for Zoom.
Sorry. She asked if I have to get permission to build this particular house or that particular house, right? Yes, I always make an attempt to ask permission to take photographs. And if in the event I don't get permission or there's no one there to ask, go ahead and take photographs. Because everyone else does it, all right? So yeah, I just join the bunch. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Question again. Insurance.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. And it's huge, you know. It's huge. You might have to sell your house and your car and your neighbor house too. Right? On this side, I was just about to ask. All of the above. For Trinidadians that left here, they want a taste of home because I have one of my houses went all the way to Jerusalem, Canada, London, United States quite a few times. I think Jamaica, Singapore, I'm not sure. Companies, yeah, one company reached out to me. We didn't get to do it for a number of reasons. Yes, all of the above. People do appreciate it, but I think they're not proactive enough. They do appreciate these houses because you hear it a lot. When I post a piece on my Instagram, you know, you would hear comments, these houses, you would hear that comment a lot. But I don't think that they are proactive enough to help to assist, do what they can to do it, right? But to answer your question, yes. A lot of people, different walks of life, commission me to do their houses or houses that they don't own, but go ahead. So the foliage, in terms of the landscape, foliage, grass, and so on, flowers come from a company called Woodland Scenic. They have been around a very long time. So what they would do is they would create foliage, grass, different colors, different textures that are made for people like myself, military. And you purchase it and you put it together. And I am a little, I like to experiment. So I would always veer away from what it's really for, do my own thing, right? So that's the question. Oh, good. Uh-huh. It's one of a kind. I don't repeat. No, I won't.
The question was, is if each piece is unique.
No, yes, each piece is unique. I don't repeat. So when one piece is sold, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to choose something else. And there are many to choose from. So, you know, so you wouldn't feel too bad if you didn't get that one, right? Hi. I do. Yeah, I do. Um, that's no, that's one. Well, it was there just now. I did it about 3 times where I touched the light. Yeah, and it looked beautiful. This one was abandoned, so that's why it doesn't have a light, right? Only the ones where there's life existing in it, I would attach a light, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Question for Zoom.
Yes, so you can repeat.
She asked, well, I got a compliment. Thank you very much for that. And she also asked if I am keeping a catalog of the pieces that I've done already. I think you also asked how many. Honestly, I never counted. I can't remember. Not yet. I have a lot of photographs that are saved and secure, but in terms of like a physical catalog of book, no, not yet. Yes. And there's a certain gentleman who is viewing this on Zoom who told me about it. So for that particular gentleman, yes, I'll be doing it soon also. Good. Aye. I grew up in an environment. The question is, sorry, the question is, what got me started building miniature houses? I started as a child. I grew up in a house where my parents made things. They made us first, and then they, they went on to make other things. And I guess, they passed on that skill of making things to their children. I'm the last, and say I got the most, right? So from that, so from that point in time, I started making things. I made my first miniature house from a cardboard cornflakes box. Cornflakes box. This lady who's speaking here, this is my mother. So that was my first house that I built, and I continued from there. But over the years, there were times when I stopped. 2005, I started back after long hiatus from it. And then I stopped again. And then in 2010, when I started again, I decided I'll never stop after that. Quick story, I had an exhibition in 2017. And when people were leaving the exhibition, I took the opportunity to speak with this lady who was standing staring at one of these houses that I did. So when I got to her, I said goodnight, said, thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for what she said. Thank you for vowing to never stop again. Because she read an article that news it did on me at the time. All right, so did I answer your question?
We have, sorry, excuse 1 second. We have one question from Zoom. We
Sure.
just want to take that. Is there any particular way that you recommend to preserve the house by someone who would purchase?
Yes, the best way to preserve it is if you can get a glass or plexiglass covering for it. Yeah, and encase it in that. Right? Otherwise, once water or nothing heavy falls on it, it's going to stay. You just have to battle with dust. Dust all over. So that's the only thing we have to battle with for a while. But to answer the question, you cover it with plexiglass or glass encasement. Most times, it's commissions. And of course, when I'm finished, they leave and go. Other times, when I prepare for an exhibition, like I'm preparing right now for next month 2021st, right? Sorry. Yeah, next month, 21st. Those houses would stick around a bit. They go to the exhibition, what doesn't sell comes back until they are sold. So it's a short time that they will be in my studio. Right? Otherwise, you would see them on my Instagram and you commission if you. Sure. To answer the question, yes, a few years ago. The question is, someone asked, if anyone has ever asked me or commissioned me to build a life-size heritage house. Question, right? Yes, someone asked me a few years ago, but it didn't pan out because I didn't want, because I don't trust my skill. That, come on, so that's why. But at some point, I plan to do. At the time, no, but now, yeah, I believe I can do it now. Thank you. Thank you. The question is, if someone were to, am I equipped to consult on the restoration of a real site, heritage site? No, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I can give a little advice in terms of painting based on my background as a painter for all those years, but that's as far as it goes. Good. It started off, well, as a child, I've been doing art since I was about. The question is, I'm not accustomed doing this.
You're
Forgive
going
me.
good. You're going good.
Thank you. Am I doing okay? Thank you. The question is, what's the question again? Good. The question is, do I have a background in architecture or anything like that? No architecture, no to architecture. I know nothing about architecture. Do you even think I can tell the word? But in terms of construction, I worked as a painter for years. And of course, being on construction site, you would see things repeating itself and therefore your mind would, retain it. But, that's about, and that those experiences plays into what I'm able to do, especially the painting. Hold on. The question is this house for sale? Absolutely not. This is mine. Yeah.
Just push it back a little bit. No, please, if I am hanging down there. Thanks. Thanks. Go ahead. The question was if it's for sale. Go ahead.
The question is, would I consider making another one like this? Absolutely not, because I don't repeat. And another reason for that is this particular house took the most amount of weathering than any other house up, and I've done quite the number of houses. And I don't want to repeat that, right? Yes. Wait, hold on. One at a time. As I said before, my brain don't work that fast. Yes, most times I can only get to see. Question was, he noticed one side is black. So he asked if um, that's based on what I'm able to see when I go to take photographs of it. Answer is yes. Most times you could only see the front and one side, other times front and both sides. And then there's a bonus where I can actually get to see all of the sides, even to the back, where I'm actually allowed into the yard. Okay? Yeah. Oh, the question is, I mentioned before that I took a long time to do it. And he said, well, seeing that I take so long to do it, what am I listening to? Well, I'm going to answer you now. I'm a huge jazz fan. calypso and reggae fan. So we're talking Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and the rest. A little bit of Billie Holiday. That's my jam right there, right? Bob Marley, Burning Spear, and all the greats of calypso. So that's basically what I listen to while I'm working. And sometimes I would just have nothing playing, and just to focus. Let what's in my head entertain me while I'm working. Aye. The question is, yeah, if I'm commissioned or asked to build a particular house like the Magnificent Seven, if I would need permission from National Trust, sorry, or the owner. Good. Yeah, I would need permission. Sometimes you don't get permission at all. So you find a way. I don't know if I want to answer that question because
His comments
know,
do not reflect the
we'll
position
talk
of the
after.
National
we'll
Trust.
talk after. We'll talk after. Yeah, this is abandoned, so it was okay. But yeah, that's why we'll talk after. Hi, to the back. Repeat it. Shall I repeat it? Okay. Piggybacking off what the first person asked, she asked if, seeing that some of the houses are not listed under the National Trust, if I would still need permission. Sometimes, okay, in choosing a house, I choose it based on a number of things, how I feel, aesthetic, and so on, and also if I've done it before and how many of that one is. Because if you look, right, so San Fernando has houses that a lot of them look alike. I was in Europe just last week taking photographs of one that I'm commissioned to do, and the entire street, all the houses that were built in that era look alike, which is different to the ones I see where I live in Belmont and in Woodbrook. So in a case like that, like in Europe, where all of them look alike, I would only do one on that, right? And so to answer your question, there are many houses are available to do. I may get permission or it's abandoned, I can just go and freely take pictures. But if I have done something close to it before, I wouldn't bother to do it. Good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I definitely would remember that. Go. Repeat the first part of the question. Uh, the question is my choice of which house to build, if it's based on business or personal choice or creativity. So in a sense, what's my rationale? The question is, what is my rationale behind just choosing to do one as opposed to many? Creativity. I want to challenge myself. So if I've done one already, that's no challenge to do the same thing or something close to it. I prefer to go after a challenge. Question is, have I done any houses or national or historical sites outside of Trinidad? Not yet, not yet, but I plan to. I wouldn't go further than the Caribbean. So after I have exhausted Trinidad and Tobago, then I'll move on. Okay. Question is, would I take a commission of to do a house that is not a heritage site? Yes, I have done quite a few commissions that looks nothing like this house, right? And that choice is just business. Yeah, just business. Also, if you pay attention to my Instagram page, you would notice that my range, my creative range is vast. I can build almost anything in miniature, right? So I also get commissions that of to do figurines and different things, tantan, sakaboy, and so good. Anybody else? Questions done? One more. Yeah, there you go. I knew it had to be one more. Come on. Question is, before I start constructing a particular house, do I make notes, sketches, measurements, and so on, with specific measurements and so on? Yes, I do. Not all the time. In the case of that house, I got many photographs because no one owned it, no one was there. So I had to take, yeah, it took years. So I was given the time to go through it and took about 60 photographs. But then there are times when I'm passing by, the one, the owner won't let me in. So, no. Yeah, there are cases where depending on the design, I would have to make sketches, do measurements, or I should say, create one group of measurements, create another group of measurements, and compare them to see which one works better to give me what I'm looking for the end result, to determine the end. Good. Can you repeat the question? The question is, after I have done a commission, the person called me back to do repairs on the house. Yes, but they didn't call me back. Yeah, called me just for Christmas. They called me, they told me that one of the house that I built for them last year, or no, 2 years ago, something fell on it, caved in one side, and if I can come and repair it, or come and take it and keep it for as long as I can to repairs, but they didn't contact me as to when to come and collect. But yes, if that's part of it. Of course, it would be an extra cost. Okay, yes, I do. More questions? No? Question is, how do you contact me? Yes, you can contact me via on Instagram, direct message. My number is also listed on Atacom. Yeah, I don't have a personal account on Instagram. That
Sorry, boss.
Yeah,
Sorry,
about
boss.
to get. The question is, have I ever gotten permission that requires me to build an entire street to be comprised of 6, 7 houses? No, but I believe it's coming at some point. So I'm preparing myself. Getting ready. All right, so the Instagram account is my last name, Frauenfelder.
Yeah, that's
On
spell it. I feel yeah, that's spell it.
how to spell it. Would you all be able to remember it? How to spell it? All right. Sorry?
We savvy typing it out.
All right, so we're all gonna give you all time to get ready. You all ready to type? Right. FRAUENFELDER underscore Minutier. I don't think I had to spell the Minutier. All right. Good? I had to spell the Minutier too? Got it?
So one final question from me. Seeing that this is World Heritage Day, what are your thoughts on using your own art as a form of heritage preservation?
The question.
What are your thoughts on using your own art, your own craft and so on? Do you see it as a form of heritage preservation, or is it capturing a moment in time? What is your view on the piece itself?
Up until recently, just about 3 months ago, I made a conscious decision to accept the role of historian, my own right, or someone who preserves these houses. Because over the years I realized the importance to preserve them in the way that I can, which is in 3D. And my thoughts on it is that I am honored to take up that challenge. I know it requires a lot of work, but I'm honored to take up the challenge. And it also helps me to, appreciate them a lot more. And whenever this is the first time I'm given this opportunity to talk about what I do and why I do it, why I enjoy doing it. And I'm hoping this is not the last time. I hope this continues. I hope I get more opportunities to talk about it because I think from where I stand with what I do, I'm able to create a change in the mechanics and bring more people in to appreciate them and do what they can to preserve these heritage sites.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, hi. Wondering when that question will. Yes, I am open to workshops and classes and so on. Currently in discussion with 2 separate groups to put on workshops this year. So for those of you who follow me, those of you who plan to follow me, look out for it.
Thank you very much. And before we get to the grand finale, the closing and so on, so I would like to challenge you all, everybody in the room and also on Zoom, think about your own talent. The National Trust, we focus on the preservation of our natural and built heritage. So think about your own talent and how can you apply it to safeguarding our national heritage, okay? Just think about it. his own was through the miniatures. Yours might be through music, through tech, through photography, through art, visual art, whatever your talent. Just think about it as today World Heritage Day. So in closing, we would all this amazing journey into the intricacies of creating these miniatures. And one of the groups that he's talking about is the trust. So you'll join the trust so that you can find out more about when we have in lectures like these Tutbagay lecture series. We're talking about everything heritage, also being part of the workshop to learn more about the miniature. So at this point in time, I would like to say thank you all for joining us. Those who here since 4 morning. And I wish you a safe journey home. Any final thoughts?
Yes. Thank you to the National Trust for reaching out, asking me to lecture. when when the word lecture was used, like me, lecture, I didn't like to talk in front of people. But I took up the challenge because, I allowed myself to look past my challenges of not liking attention and my struggles with talking to people in a group like this, and just focus on uh, exposing myself, exposing what I do to people, to the public who is interested. And based on the questions and the attention and everything, I can see you all really interested in what I do. And I really appreciate that. Thank you for showing that interest. Thank you for following. Thank you for the encouragement. And this has done a lot for me. And definitely, I will never stop doing what I do.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And do have a safe journey home. Enjoy the rest of the evening.